everyone. I'm Steve from Number 12 Cider, and I'm here with my partner Colin. We got a couple of guests today. Adam Bystrom is a local mead maker and good friend of ours that's going to help us out with the mead we're making today. And we've got Ben Bayless, our production guy today. He's going to help us out as well, hailing from New Zealand, for all you folks from New Zealand. So mead is the product that we're making today. We haven't made mead before, so I thought maybe we should say, what is mead? Mead is made with honey. It's actually one of the oldest, if not the oldest, alcoholic beverage known to man. They've found evidence of mead going back even to the Egyptian years of 3000 BC. What else do we know about mead, Adam?
Well, mead is one of those unique fermented beverages that, unlike cider, which is fermented with apple juice, or wine, which is fermented with grape juice, it's fermented with primarily just honey. You could add spices or fruit, but today it's just honey, just a beautiful expression of the honey we're using. And unlike the Egyptians, we're using very modern fermentation techniques to get a super clean fermentation and to create something that's going to be delicious.
Yeah, cool. So maybe I'll let Colin tell us a little bit about what we got set up here and what specifically we're making today.
So what we're making today, we're going for more of a sessionable mead today. Many people think of mead as a very high alcoholic beverage, 10 to 14% ABV range, kind of a heavy experience, complicated. We're trying to take that out of this recipe. We're doing something that's going to be about 5% ABV. This is something that will be light, tropical, easy to drink, very approachable for the general population, general public. We want to take mead into a category where people say, wow, that's something different. I didn't know mead could be that way. So it's going to be about 5%, as I said, real light, tropical, and hopefully approachable.
Patio pounder. That's what we're looking for.
So in this case, we have 2 drums here of water. We're making about a 250-gallon batch. So you see over here in our tote, we've got about 150 gallons sitting there ready for blending. That's all filtered water from our neighbors next door, generous enough to do that for us. In these 2 drums, we have about 40 gallons each of hot filtered water, maybe about 160 degrees, I believe it was, coming out. And we're blending the honey into this so that it will mix nicely and smoothly, which will then make for the initial steps of fermentation a lot smoother and faster. So we've already put in this drum about 10 gallons of honey. We're going to add another 10 gallons to this drum of hot water and blend these 2. And then mix them with that in the tote with the other 150 gallons of water. So we're looking in the end about 230 gallons of water with about 20 gallons of honey. And we're doing the target recipe that Adam is kind of coaching us through right now. It's an Angico honey from Brazil, which is generally gathered near acacia trees. And so it kind of has our target here is a kind of a mango, pineapple, tropical kind of essence to it, a little bit of a floral character, and we think it's going to be very, very nice in the end. And actually, Adam's already made this before, so we know it's going to be really good.
And so that's the thing with mead. If we're just doing an introduction here today, but there's a lot of different kinds of honey out there that make for different kinds of mead. Maybe a couple of the different kinds of honey you've used, Adam, in the past?
Yeah, like the sizer we did before with orange blossom, which is very earthy, floral, has hints of orange zest. Or you can go with avocado blossom, which is malty and has a more robust feel and much darker. This honey is, like Colin was saying, very tropical. It's nice tones of pineapple and mango, and it's going to be perfect for the summer.
Well, so why don't we go ahead and blend the rest of the honey into the water. Do you want to help us out here, Ben?
Let's see.
Good to see you.
All right, ready?
Ben's highly trained for this moment.
So we ordered this honey from a company called Bee Seasonal. They're actually out of Texas, is that right? Yeah. And they source honey from local growers. And in this case, this honey came from Brazil. And they're just ordinary local honeybee farmers. And you know anything else about that?
Yeah, they like to do a lot of single source honey from local growers from all over the world. Mexico, Brazil, India. And the stuff they get from Brazil is fantastic.
So we're going to put 10 gallons of honey in this drum, and because that water is hot, it makes it a lot easier to get all of the honey. So Colin's going to put some of that hot water now that has a little honey in it, and use it to clean out the 5-gallon bucket so we can get every single last drop of the honey
With
used.
my sanitized gloves, by the way. We all know how important sanitation is, right? So
Right on. That is correct. All of these buckets and our tote, all of our equipment has been sanitized before we start using it, and you should always make sure to do that when you're making mead or any other kind of alcoholic beverage. Making these guys do the tough work. Actually, these buckets of honey weigh 60 pounds, so Adam's getting a little workout.
Smells amazing.
It does. I spilled a little on my hand earlier, and it also tastes amazing. Just a nice, light, beautiful honey. Then yes, you could use it on toast too. Basically, the trick for making mead is figuring out the ratio you want. As Colin was saying earlier, we're using 230 gallons of water with 20 gallons of honey. In this case, to get our desired 5% alcohol. But if you want to make a different style of mead with a higher percentage of alcohol, then you can use a higher ratio of honey to water. And what's typically done with modern meads is some amount of back sweetening. So we have another 5-gallon bucket of this honey that we're going to use to back sweeten this batch. And we are shooting for a particular sweetness level that we'll figure out using our hydrometer, which we've talked about in other videos. What is the specific gravity we're shooting for on this one?
1.003 to 1.004. Gonna go for something that's dry, maybe a little bit off dry. After carbonated, it's gonna have a nice dry feel, but not too dry. Just that little tiny bit of residual sweetness to bring out the honey aromatics, and the fermented honey. It should be really nice.
And it's important to use the same kind of, or the honey, a specific kind of honey when you're back sweetening, right?
Yeah, if you're doing a single varietal traditional, you really want that expression. I mean, we're going for acacia blossom, so that's what we're going to do. But you could also, like what we did with Odin, where we blended 3 different types of honey to get a more complex honey flavor. Where I think we fermented with 2 different types of honey and then back sweetened with a different one to really get different honey character.
So Odin was a product we made that was using avocado honey principally for the ferment, and we made that one specifically to be about 14% alcohol, and it was very popular here at the tap room. Dark, rich, so that's the complete opposite end of the spectrum, if you will, for mead making.
So this is, just to clarify, we're using one kind of honey here. So in terms of, we talk about adding complexity to the final component. Our complexity, we're going to add a little bit of tannin component from some Blanc Soft, a kind of a cultured tannin. And we might even add a little bit of acid near the end, either in the form of apples or in the form of tartaric acid. Some
complementary yeast that's going to go really well with this honey. And then this honey in general already is complex. It's not just, you know, your McDonald's honey packet. This is very complex honey that has a lot of different flavors, and it's
cool.
Yep.
So Adam, how does Ben know that we've got it all stirred in here as far as the honey goes?
I think the best way is just to kind of touch the bottom, maybe scrape it, and then see if any honey's looks like it's stirred in good.
All right, so maybe we'll take a quick break, and then we'll pump the honey into our tote as soon as we're ready. We'll let you know. Okay, so we're about ready to pump the blended honey and water into our tote here. I've opened the valve. I'll just to show you real quick. We use a commercial pump because we're a commercial operation. At home, you can do this by siphoning, by pouring, whatever you decide to do. And so Ben's got the power button going. He's ready to start right now on the pump, and we're drawing the blended honey and hot water into our larger tank here, if that goes. Let's see. Is it going, Ben?
Starting to. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so we got this siphoning the liquid off, coming through here, and you'll see as the water is turning a little different shade as we're getting the honey in there as well. So this will take a little while, and once we get it all blended in, we'll check in with you again as we're about to mix in our yeast and our yeast nutrient. All right? Here we go. So welcome back. Yeah, actually we spent a little time getting a good blend for the honey. Now it's called must. We've blended the honey into the water, and so we're about to add yeast nutrient and yeast. And I'll let Ben go ahead and dump the yeast nutrient in, just right into the top here. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about why we chose the yeast we've chosen, Adam. What do we have?
Yeah, we chose this yeast because it really promotes tropical fruit flavors, especially if they're already existing. It's a white wine yeast, a Portuguese white wine yeast, and it puts off really great pineapple flavors. Sometimes you can get a little bit of vanilla in it even. I think if you get some of that, even great. I think a little bit more of that complexity would be wonderful, but yeah, some really nice tropical notes in this yeast.
Did you say what kind of yeast we're using?
BA11.
It's a L11 product, BA11, yeah.
And then Colin, maybe you can tell us how you prepared this yeast.
Well, so like any cider, mead, sizer, etc., our job as production people truly is to be yeast farmers. We're trying to set up the best possible scenario for the yeast to thrive and do its job. And once that happens and we set that stage, then we can kind of step back and let nature take its course. So we did some yeast nutrient with this. This yeast is a dry yeast when we start, it's not liquid. So we have to rehydrate the yeast first, and so we do a rehydration nutrient initially, and that basically sets up the yeast for success. And then we also add an additional yeast nutrient just to the liquid itself, so that once it's fully happy being rehydrated, now it's got other nutrients in the mead in this case that it can thrive on. So those two additions, that's what Ben's pouring in now, is the actual yeast itself that's been sitting with that yeast rehydration nutrient for probably about the last maybe close to an hour even at this point. Yep. Yeah. So then what we should see shortly is this yeast was already active in the pot, and it's going to be very active once it hits this nice sugar reservoir here with the mead. And we should probably be seeing some yeast activation here today, perhaps by the end of today.
No, actually, we're kind of lucky today because Adam made this mead that we're going to be making right now. He's already made it. So we have an opportunity to try it today, which we will momentarily. But about how long did that take, Adam?
Yeah, fermentation's pretty quick. I'd say 1 to 2 weeks. And then depending on how motivated you are, it can take anywhere from another week to get into bottle or a few more weeks. But yeah, it can be really quick. I'd say on average 3 weeks to a month. Yeah.
So should we try it?
Yes.
Let's give it a try.
Thank you very much.
And this is, I'm noticing immediately, it's filtered, it's beautifully clear. I've got a slight carbonation, so this was got some forced carbonation on it, so got some nice bubbles for a good mouthfeel.
Looks delicious. Cheers.
Yes. Cheers. Same honey, same yeast.
So this is what we're hoping for by the end, right?
That's fantastic. Well done, Adam.
And that's just what we're looking for. It's beautifully light, little effervescence on there to kind of bring out that little honey note. You've got, in terms of the sweetness level on this, it's in the semi-dry category. Am I right about that?
Yep.
So, and it tastes that way. It's just a hint of honey, beautiful balance to it.
Just a little bit of back sweetening. Just
Yeah.
enough not for it to be puckering dry. You know, just a touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nobody would call this sweet or
Right.
semi-sweet.
Well, that's great. Well, I hope all your meads turn out well as this one does.